Fisicality. Introduction. Don't trust me. This book is a mixture of my opinions, guesses, and even a few of what could arguably be called empirical, if not outright established facts. But what makes something a fact? Is it based on science? Science is often updated, and earlier assertions, laws, principles, etc. are proven wrong. Is it based on religion? Well, there are a lot of those, with many having undeniably immaculate principles, but they also possess myriad contradictions as well as antithetical notions between them. Is it based on the sheer number of people, institutions, and learned bodies that assert a notion that causes a thing to be factual? The mobile vulgus is notoriously inaccurate when it comes to being on the right side of most issues. So I can't even answer what I think makes something an actual fact, and I won't struggle to do so now. But opinions, we can all have those, even with no articulable or justifiable reason for having one. Even so, I personally like having a reason, even for my opinions, and I attempt to back them up with data, if not what we loosely might call facts. And if I channel ESPN analyst Ryan Clark's sentiment on the matter, I can have any opinion I want. I don't have to be right. I just need to have a good reason for being wrong. Each and every one of us is responsible for our own decisions and our actions related to those decisions. We can draw inspiration, guidance, knowledge, and suggestions from others, but our choices are our own. Of course, this is much less so for those who are younger or immature. However, the older we get and the more experience we gather, the less justification we have to project our responsibilities of choice on others. If you are in your late teens or early 20s, and you are still asserting that someone outside of yourself is responsible for any of your poor decisions, stop being a victim and take ownership of your life. This book presents information, much of which is actionable. However, every person's situation, motivations, goals, resources, challenges, etc. are different. It's up to you to decide which elements of this book may be relevant to you, and then use what I've presented as a catalyst to do more research and explore more facets before taking meaningful action. Independent research is the default first action I recommend every person take. Regardless of how emphatic, aggressive, or matter of fact a suggested course of action is presented from any source, your decisions are your own. Conventions. This entire work is somewhat of a stream of consciousness mishmash of random thoughts that I've attempted to glue together in something resembling a book. Because sometimes it's difficult to fully relay what you're thinking with the written word, I've included a lot of illustrations. The illustration bloat serves to hopefully keep reader interest and simplify understanding. I was going for that stuffy, not too self-righteous, college textbook mixed and diluted with a just the facts but goofy elementary school workbook type of vibe. An unholy, mongrelized literary offspring for sure. I use a variety of fonts, font sizes, line spacing, etc., similar to what a magazine would use. I needed to do this to give me enough control and latitude over the layout so everything would fit, at least when space got tight. I tried to emphasize information density without compromising readability. Punctuation does not follow the Chicago Manual of Style, as I have punctuated it the way I want. This is particularly noticeable with quotes, as I place all quotes before any terminating punctuation, like quote this, unquote, period. I also capitalize, all caps, and bold certain words for emphasis, whether they follow convention or not. I also did not follow strict APA for the index, but I stayed consistent on how I did it. I'll sometimes purposefully misuse singular and plural words. Most frequently, I'll treat the word data as if it's its singular form, datum. Did you catch the double its? I do this because although I'm using the word data, in my mind, I'm thinking data set. And there are some terms in here that are not actually words, or at least words you can find in the dictionary because I made them up, except for irregardless. I use them because I think they convey what I was attempting to say the best. You'll have to ferret out some of their meanings based on the usage and context. Some, but not all, examples include nourish. I think it adds nuance to plain old nourish. Dubious-sized. It sounds like something Don King would say, so I had to roll with it. Theoretical and theoretical. A false belief or assumption that causes a cranial rectal inversion that screws you over. Fraudery. Come on, man. This should already be a word. Irregardless. I don't care that it's not considered a standard word. I like using it. Besides, I believe it may have come into common usage due to a linguistic mutation over time, perhaps originating from something like irregardless or irregardless. A word on AI. I have not used any direct AI resources, to my knowledge, for this work. I know that there's a proliferation of created content that is the result of prompt engineering. I'm not using any of that. Eventually, I may acquire a taste for using it, find it makes sense to use it, or discover that its use is largely unavoidable. But for now, I disdain its general use and abhor its heavy use. I want to avoid it as much as I can for as long as I can, especially for things that I can do myself. Eventually, we will all suffer due to skill erosion and retarded development if we individually fail to exercise the gifts in our intellectual and artistic tool chests. Many images are taken from my online resource library, so some of those could have used AI elements, but I have no way of knowing for certain. For the actual writing, aside from direct resources that have been noted, it's all taken from my musings, every single word. I essentially sat down with a blank page and began transcribing my thoughts. Additionally, nearly all of my research actually took place after I had completed the initial manuscript text, mainly because I thought some of my assertions needed to have some kind of source identified. My simply saying with certainty something assumed or stated was so, unintended consonants bomb, just because I wrote it down was not sufficient. This does raise the question about how much AI saturation is or is not involved with a simple word search or query for concept clarification or online tool request. And I've also noted several vendors repackaging previously existing tools and capabilities as AI, even though nothing has fundamentally changed with their offerings. So which products are using AI proper rather than solely leveraging the marketing prowess the semantics of the term provides? Of that, I'm not sure. Sometimes during VerVal, verification and validation, I ended up discovering that my notions and assertions were completely wrong, and I very much enjoyed unmasking the correct information. Although I possess physical copies for most of my sourced information, I notated using internet sources if possible to make it easier for people to go to a link and verify the information for themselves, even if I have the actual physical book. Personally, I enjoy reading a real physical copy of a book. For most things, I like the feel of the pages, the whisper a sheet coos at you when you turn it, the slight kiss of breeze the paper exhales as it snuggles in to spoon with its peers, and the different scents and aromas that waft up from the leaves, the covers, and the bindings. Electronic media has its place for sure, especially when searching for a specific term or concept. But to me, there's nothing, absolutely nothing, like flipping through a real physical book.